To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll. Mr. Costick's excused. Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mr. Kennedy's here. Mr. Schmidtke?
Present.
Mr. Paderas?
Present.
Mr. Bundy?
Present.
And Mr. Van Oss.
There's always one.
Okay, we all have the agenda in front of us. Are there any questions or amendments to the agenda for this evening?
Nope.
Make a motion we approve the agenda as written.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passed. We have the minutes from our February 14th meeting, and you've all had a chance to review those minutes. Are there any changes noted for the minutes? If none, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I so move.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. We have our bills and vouchers, 13,577 through 13,586. Are there any questions or comments on the vouchers? No questions? I'll accept a motion to accept the bills and vouchers.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed. This is our last statement of the fiscal year. We can just accept this statement, review it, and accept it. Are there any questions before we accept the statement? Hearing none, we will enter the statement into the record. Now have the Treasurer's Report from 2017. Are there any questions concerning the Treasurer's Report?
Just a clarification, Lorinda. The tax collection, the note is that the full levy is in the tax collection. Why is it set up the way it is? Because it's already included, and why is it shown? I'm just wondering why it's shown the way it is. Okay. Yeah, it's not I mean, the note seems to say we have the money, yet it's fine. I'll talk to you about it.
Are there any other questions concerning the Treasurer's Report? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the Treasurer's Report.
So moved.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Public comment. I see we have one gentleman in the audience. Are you here for public comment? Okay. Move on to our action items. First action items is the Riverview Land Preserve contract, which will be a recommendation to the Township Board. Everybody should have had a chance to go over it. It's prefaced with a memorandum from our township attorney, who has brought up several questions as to the wording within the contract. Further within the contract, there are two options that we need to consider, and one option is for a 7-year term, and the other option is for a 5-year term. So I would first like to address some of the concerns that the attorney raised and request the commission to come forth with any comments they might have concerning his concerns. Specifically, he was concerned that there's only a 15-day period in which they can void the contract. And further, they have some insurance requirements which they indicate they could change at will and require our compliance. And of course, he has a significant issue with indemnity at the end of it. I've looked through the previous contract, and it appeared to me that the previous contract was a little more lenient in some of those areas. I guess I don't feel really qualified to vote on this as a package with these issues outstanding, in that I think they need to be looked at, reviewed, and considered by the township board as to their acceptability to the township. I kind of see our function in this is looking at the costing options that we've been presented.
Well, then,
I think that's right. One thing that came to my mind, when you look at the second paragraph in the letter from the attorney, some of the things you can't really walk around. For instance, garbage truck hit some guy at a green light. The no-fault statute, the state of Michigan statutes are going to superimpose liability regardless of who's involved. A long time ago, over 5 years ago, we had a question about the operation of the sewer treatment plant. And the most simplistic language that we came up with, and Ted will remember this, was each party is responsible for their own negligence, and each party agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the other party against their own actions. That language was really pretty simplistic, and it covered everything that I could think of. And then you can't get around the No-Fault Act. You can't get around that. So there's no way that anybody agrees to anything, because the state statutes preempt that. So when Ted carries this stuff to the board, I think that's probably something that could be orchestrated at that time at the board. You remember that language. We had it in some of their old contracts, so you could probably use the same language. And what happened, Joe's guys, through a merger, came up with some new language. And they were very forthright about explaining all this new language to us, and they gave us the explanation it was 9/11 is what caused the problem. But when we took a look at it, 9/11 didn't cause the problem. And so when we readdressed it, we went back and used old language, and then we used each party shall be responsible for their own negligent acts and agreed to indemnify and hold harmless the other party thereof for that party's negligence. Causing injury, damage, or loss. And that pretty well is going to take care of everything on the liability stuff. Now, you're going to have other things that come into play, and the township board has to deal with these in a lot of different areas, the environmental stuff, the airport, and that kind of stuff. And we really don't have any control over that. And probably in this instance, with what they haul, it's probably not a real big environmental thing. If they were hauling gasoline, it would be.
Sure.
Something like that. So we've got those environmental problems with our own gas tanks and, airport fuel and all that stuff. That's somebody else's letterbox. That's not ours. So I think Phil's got right on the head. We look at the numbers, see if the numbers make sense. Jim can add some input on that, whether or not these numbers are correct, and then that's all we decide, and then you guys figure out how you're going to.
And I would suggest that it goes forward to the board pending township attorney's approval.
Yeah.
And he'll do the rewrite.
Yeah.
Right.
And it'll come in front of the township board with that rewrite.
No, I agree with that.
Where is Tom on that, Lorinda?
He's still trading
Phone calls?
We have John Mena in the audience. He's representative of the landfill. John, if you want to come up and speak to the commission.
Yeah, please state your name and firm you represent for the record. And
John Mena with the City of Riverview Land Preserve. I know the Riverview City Attorney has been, as Lorinda said, trading emails and phone calls with the Township Attorney to hash out those couple of items. So you had some specific questions on the financials, if you'd like, I'd be able to help you with.
Okay.
But I still think that, and it's hard to learn about this, I think the indemnity clause that's in here is pretty close to what was in the original 1990 contract.
No, I think that part of it, I think, is correct. Some of the terms on the 15-day notice and the
15-day notice.
every breach of contracts, a material
15-day
breach,
notice.
and can cause for immediate termination. Some of those things seem to me to be a little different than the previous language, but
The 15-day notice to cure a breach came from the negotiating committee that was authorized by the township. And I hope you also see in there that it says that either party can extend that. So we thought that would take care of
I would
things
be
that can't be
comfortable
taken
all
care
that
of
could be
within
worked
that
out.
time period.
Yeah, I think the fact that, Tom not only noticed these areas, but is working on them, by the time it gets to our board, we'll have answers on these one way or another. So I'm not over.
They have something by tonight because
Yeah.
they sent me a text message, but they still haven't connected.
I'm not overly concerned that that by the time it gets to the board, that we'll be in good shape.
Thing is, with the way we've changed our schedule in getting our materials to you, I have to submit it tomorrow at our managers meeting. I still won't have that part ironed out, so I don't know if it will be accepted at the meeting or not. That's my only concern, because review has an April 1 deadline.
And that can't be extended?
Could it be extended another?
Again, the date was negotiated with the committee, and it actually gave almost 2 months time frame for everyone to look at it. I suppose it could. I mean, we'd prefer not to, so that everyone's treated the same.
Yeah, and I
We've had
understand
4
that.
communities approve it, the contract
Yeah.
as is, but it's totally up to you. We'd look at it if that's what you have.
I mean, our contract, our actual contract goes to when, or is it
End of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah.
So this is to a change in that.
Right, this would
So,
supersede it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're still good till the end of the year for sure.
I mean, if I could get that ironed out
yeah, I mean
by Friday, even, some of these concerns, I'd still have a.
Yeah, and I
information
understand
forwarded
we're
to
doing,
Yeah.
that we have a new way of trying to do things, but like everything, you got to have an exception. So I think we can work that out. I'm not concerned about that.
Miranda, I think you could probably put it on the agenda.
Right, and if it's
And if the attorney is not satisfied with the results prior to our
Okay,
last meeting of the month, it can be removed. Jim can remove it.
okay. Very good, thank you.
great.
Is there anything with the financial end that
Yeah,
you have
financials.
questions on or that I could help with?
Well, I thought now that we've put this aside, we'll discuss the financial part of it, and you may want to come up and make further comment then.
Okay,
if
thank you.
That's okay. So what we've been presented are 2 options. One option is for a 5-year agreement, which is laid out on page 43. And then option 2B is a 7-year agreement, which is laid out on page 46, I believe.
correct.
And turning to page 43, since we're done with the issues of the contract language, it appeared to me to be pretty straightforward across the board. It's the 5-year agreement is 3 years at a fixed rate with a rebate for excess tonnage and a penalty, I would call it. I don't think they called it a penalty, but for lesser tonnage. And then in year 4 and 5, an increase each year. And then if you look at the 7-year agreement, it's the same 3-year fixed rate at $18.52 a ton, and then a lesser increase in years 4 and 5, and then in years 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. Slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher increase. And then in year 6 and 7, a slightly higher incre I just did some averaging of the numbers, and that's probably not the best way to do it because on a cash flow basis, that would be changed a little bit, but it's $18.91 a ton on the 5-year agreement, and if you just take the first 5 years of the 7-year agreement, it's $18.80 a ton. So it's 11 cents a ton cheaper, which is about, it's less than 1%, but it is less money.
Well, and what are we paying now?
$20.33 a
So
ton.
Right.
you look at that,
Bit of a
Right.
savings there. Yeah.
there is some savings in either one of them.
There's savings in either one of them, and I think the question is, do we want to go 5 years or do we want to go 7 years? I mean, I didn't see anything different in how the contract was structured beyond the 5 and 7 year rates. Am I missing something there?
No, it's the same contract. It's just the 5 or 7 years. Is
5
that
or
correct,
7 years, and the
Mr.?
base
Yeah.
rates change slightly
Right.
as you move forward.
Yeah, come on up if you would, please. That is, I mean, nothing in the contract changes because it's a 7-year.
No, it's just the term of it. But the 5-year, I would just point out the first 3 years are a fixed rate at $18.52 a ton. The next 2 years are 3.5% increases per year. On the 7-year, again, the first 3 years are fixed rate. The next 3 years are at 2.5%, and the final year is 2%.
Right.
But all of the other contract language remains the same.
So, and Lorinda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically from our standpoint, unless we could find a closer landfill, anything further away is going to cost us more.
Correct.
So, with that, I mean, I see no problem with with us going 7 years over the 5.
Our last contract with them.
Well, we've had it since 1990, and you've had addendums through the years, so we've been long-term.
So
Yeah,
more than
it's-
5.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's just
I
been a
think
matter
the
of
original 1990 contract was 7 years.
I think it was 7 years, and then they just kept
And we've
adding on.
addending it.
Yeah.
And then the original 7? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
new to
Yes.
this group, so
okay.
I'm asking some of those basic questions. Sorry.
So we're going to go with option 2B?
7's okay
No.
with me.
Yeah, we-
7's okay?
7's fine with me.
7's fine with me.
So it's option
so-
2B.
Is 7 okay with you, Mr.?
7's acceptable, yes.
It looks like 7.
Okay, lucky 7.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
I'm ready.
Let him finish.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Accept option 1 or option 2B. And I don't know, I think maybe we would put in the motion that the contractual language would be,
The motion.
Kingstown,
Well, it would
okay.
Yes.
be- it would be
Yes.
predicated on the acceptance of the terms.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
so if anybody wishes to make that motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion's carried. Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Right.
Here you were decorating. Here you were decorating the golf course.
Decorating a golf course.
Oh, with blowing papers?
Oh,
Problem when it's windy.
Our next action item is a contract adjustment to the Suez compensation adjustment for the commencing fiscal year, April 1st, 2017. You all have the motion in front of you, which has the history. Basically, this motion is for a consumer price increase and a wage price increase to the existing contract. And Mr. O'Keefe's letter is in the packet, and it's a 1.9% increase in the contract amount. And the total significance of it is $7,416 annual increase.
Yeah, just to, while Jill's going up there, when we did the last contract, the increase was always there. What's different about in this contract is that it's broken down to 76.24. Is that correct?
Right.
Because our wages, we don't buy a lot of things. Our significant cost is our wages and benefits. And as you can see, with 2.2% was the wage CPI for the year, and 0.85 was the CPI for the Midwest. So based on the old way we did it, we would have only gotten a 0.85, less than 1%. And now it's a blending of the two, and that, so 2.2 and 0.85, and came out to 1.9%.
And it's just in accordance with the contract.
It's
There's nothing new here. We had this last year, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Just
And there's no new language other than what's already been.
No, it's just following the contract, and we have to approve it each year.
You negotiated that contract, so you're going to make a motion on it?
I will. For the first time tonight, I'll make a motion.
Okay. I'll support that.
So moved.
So moved
And I support
supported.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion's passed. That completes our action items for the evening. We have our manager's report. Lorinda?
Yes, the only thing I have for this evening is we've arranged to have a couple of dumpsters placed at the DPW yard due to the power outage, and residents can bring down their garbage that they had to clean out of the freezers and refrigerators. There's signs posted on the outside so they know which is which, and the other one's for yard waste. So I know a lot of people are anxious to get their properties cleaned up, and because normally our yard waste doesn't begin until the first working day in April, which will be the 3rd this year. That's all I have.
That's it. I have a question.
Yes.
I guess discussion items, which is next. What was the outcome of the sewer video truck demonstration?
Oh, we were going to talk about that next month when John was here.
Okay.
We're going to talk in depth. Let's
Yeah,
just
in
say.
depth
Let's
we'll
just
talk.
say.
Put that
it's-
off, and I
yeah,
wasn't able to make it, so I was
Right,
just
and we're going to have a
curious.
study session on the 18th, so we're going to talk even more in depth about it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
But
We'll postpone.
just to tease you, though, I think you're going to like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was really,
Well, I saw
Les-
the pictures
Les-
and I missed
Les, did you?
oh yeah, Leslie.
Les, did you like it?
I have been trying for 10 years to get a new sewer truck. Now, you think I like it or I don't like it?
Oh, he loves it.
He asked for my checkbook when we were there,
Okay.
look at the demonstration. So
All right. Are there any other discussion items? Hearing none. Chairman's report. The chairman's not here.
yeah.
There is no
That's
chairman.
you
Yeah,
tonight.
he was enjoying the sun today down in Florida.
I think that's great.
Yeah, he keeps calling, giving me a weather report.
Okay, so we will go around for any commissioner's report. Mr. Schmidtke?
I don't have anything to report. Something new.
Happy St. Patrick's Day,
Hey.
Friday, the 17th.
Right.
Nothing further after that.
Honey?
How many recyclable dumpsters were lost this week, and how were the recyclable can sales this week?
Well, we had lots of phone calls on it. They wanted us to replace them. I said, well, residents can use a 32-gallon container, and they can pick up a recycle sticker here for it and place it on the
Instead of
outside.
using
Otherwise,
the blue.
you have to repurchase the bins for $8 each.
$8 a piece,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because mine's not in Jim's yard where I thought it was. So we've got to do
Well, I
something
know I
different.
took it in.
Oh, you took it in? Did I get it back? Did I get it back tonight?
Great
No,
box.
yes. That's all I had. I was just curious about, I'm sure how many,
Oh, yeah,
lots
we
of
had a
folks
lot of
were
phone
up here
calls
this
about
week and
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
trying to get that sorted out. And
Yeah.
for the folks who are near the island, where do they go to get that stuff?
right.
So
They can stop at the cashier's office if they want to purchase a new one, or like I said, 32-gallon container works really well.
fine.
Yes.
Perfect. No, that's all I had.
All right. Thank you, sir. I have nothing other than happy birthday to John Keim this St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's it?
That's
That's it.
That's it? I make a motion that we adjourn.
And I support that.
It's 7:27.
Favor.
That's almost a record. No, it isn't. John Riley has the record. His was only 7 minutes long.